I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Alessandra Birding. I am the Associate Director of Alumni Relations Service and Programs. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. This is going to be an interactive presentation, so you do have the ability to mute and unmute yourself. Natalie, who is our host tonight, she's going to be asking some questions. We want you to be able to unmute yourself, ask questions, answer those questions. So feel free to unmute and mute yourself. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat for me. But also at that time, if you are not speaking or not chiming in, please feel free to mute yourselves just so we can cut down on some background noise. This is a recorded event, so if you have any questions or want to see the slides or wanted to send it to somebody else, other Trinity alum, you can go ahead and do that. It will be posted on our page under alumni relation on our alumni relations page in the coming couple of days, so you can view it there as well. Like I said, feel free to send anything in the chat. If you want to send it to everyone, make sure it's to everyone. If you'd like to send it to me directly, just make sure it says to Alessandra. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Natalie in a moment. I'll read her bio and then I will go ahead and turn it over to her. So our conversation today is with Natalie Wilson. She has more than 15 years of experience in public relations, marketing. She is the co-founder of the Black and Missing Foundation. She is also the founder and CEO of NWR Communications Group. Natalie is an award-winning practitioner in the field of nonprofit development, communications, marketing, media relations, digital media, and crisis management. Natalie is a Black Girls Rock Community Change Agent awardee as well. She holds a Master of Arts in Communications from Trinity and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Howard University, where she lives, and she currently lives in Washington, D.C. with her family. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Natalie.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be able to speak with you today. So thank you so much for having me, and let's get started. And I wanted to start with a little story. You know, recently I was watching my 3-year-old granddaughter, and she was playing with her cousin, my grandson. And I heard her say repeatedly, you know, let me speak, EJ. And I stopped and I was in awe that this little person was not going to be overshadowed, and she was basically claiming her power. And I thought about it, you know, in a crowded business, workspace, classroom, we all want to be heard and we all want the freedom and power to speak. So we all speak to our family, our friends, our colleagues, our classmates through our brand. So you may be thinking, you know, well, what is a brand? So according to Webster, being a brand is not a company, but creating yourself. And it's the image you want people to see or hear. So branding is everywhere in life and the business world. So what does your brand say about you? And what do you say about you? So let me name some brands, and I would like to know, what do you think? What comes to mind when I say this? So the first one is Chick-fil-A. When I think of Chick-fil-A, I think about excellent customer service. What do you think about?
Delicious food.
Okay, great.
The color red.
Red, okay.
I think about their Chick-fil-A sauce.
Which one? Polynesian?
No, the actual Chick-fil-A.
The actual sauce. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. What about Nike? I think about quality when I think about Nike. What do you think?
Tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes, okay.
The logo.
Logo, okay. The swoosh, okay. Okay. Two more. What about Oprah? When I think about Oprah, I think about excellence. I mean, everything she touches turns to gold to me. What do you all think of when you hear her name?
Activist.
I think of success.
Talk show.
Success. Okay, I get it. And the last one is Trinity. And when I think about Trinity, I think about women and empowerment. What do you think about?
Diversity.
Diversity, okay. Okay. Well, as Alessandra said, I'm the co-founder of the Black and Missing Foundation, and we are a nonprofit organization that brings awareness to missing people of color around the country. And I'm also the founder and CEO of NWR Communications Group, and that's a boutique public relations agency that helps nonprofits and foundations committed to social justice issues gain visibility. So I know the power and the reach of building a brand. So for instance, at the Black and Missing Foundation, I wear many hats. And one of them includes being the publicist for families, thousands of families who have a missing loved one. And I'm doing public relations work for the organizations and the families that we serve. And my PR strategy for both companies is to be the thought leader in the industry. And through building brands as a thought leader, you know, I have garnered local and national, even international coverage. And it's so important. I'm not sure if you all have heard recently the firestorm with the Gabby Petito story. You know, the public, our communities have been outraged because people of color have not been getting the same type of visibility when they go missing. So the Black and Missing Foundation is now the thought leader. The news media outlets are reaching out to us to, you know, get our opinion or our thoughts as to how we feel about the coverage for Gabby Petito. So today I want to talk to you on how I created the brands for these organizations and to provide 5 simple steps so that you can build your brand and be successful. And none of this is rocket science. All of this is information that you already know. So we can start with number 1, which is to determine your unique value proposition. Now, what does that mean? You know, it means to take a step back and spend some time thinking about what makes you different than your peers. What makes you stand out? What are your strengths, your passions, and your goal? So if you left your job today, what would your company and your colleagues miss? You know, it's so important to know who you are as well as who you're not. And I mentioned the Black and Missing Foundation. You know, our strength is bringing awareness to missing people of color around the country, and we're very passionate about it. And our goal is to bring visibility not only to the work that we do, but for the families that are desperately searching for their loved ones. And we are the only nonprofit in the country that is doing this work. So that's our brand. You know, helping to find us. And that's our tagline as well, but that's our brand, helping to find us. Number 2 is find out how others see you. You know, ask your trusted colleagues or your coworkers, your friends for 4 to 5 adjectives that would describe you. You know, what are you good at? What are your strengths? In which areas do they view you as irreplaceable? Does anyone have any examples as to, have you ever spoken with your colleagues or your friends before and they described you? No, like for me, to be quite honest, I am such an introvert. Even though I'm in a very public field, you put me in a corner and I can do the work and get it done, and I don't ever have to talk to anyone. But again, because I am doing public relations, I have to turn it on and be, you know, engaging, when really and truly that's not my personality. Is anyone else like that?
I'm the opposite. So
Really?
people, when there's a quiet room, or if there's kind of an awkward silence, or people are not quite mingling, or they just shove me over there. So I'm an extreme extrovert, and yeah, people have appreciated that and not appreciated it sometimes too.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ashley. Thank you.
I get I'm very supportive, easy to talk to, and easy to get along with, very
Mhm.
friendly. So
Okay, good.
those are the things I get.
Good.
Oh,
Do you
and
mind me
resourceful.
Resourceful. Okay,
Mhm.
what field are you in? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm a case manager
Okay.
and I work at a homeless shelter. So, but I'm transitioning to be a housing navigator. So I'm a people person when I need to turn it on.
Okay, yeah.
When it's time to turn it on, I'm on. But when I
Right.
can turn it off, I'm relaxed, quiet.
Okay. Yeah. And that's how I am as well. Okay. Step number 3 is to identify your goals. Like, where would you like to be in the next 2 months as we close out 2021? I can't believe that we are already in the 4th quarter of 2021. Next month is Thanksgiving, and in a couple of weeks is Christmas. So, time is going by, and it makes you think, where am I where I want to be? As we close out the year, where do I want to be next year? Where do I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? So defining your goal is necessary to crafting a message that helps you reach your audience. It's so important. Number 4, reorganizing your priorities. Just like Starbucks know that their target audience is coffee drinkers, you need to define to whom you want to send your message. This will not only help you hone your message, it will help you deliver it to the right places, but be loyal to yourself first. And I was telling Alessandra this, I was so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, can I do this? Even though I speak, all the time, but I get very nervous and I critique myself and overthink and overanalyze. So, I just want to make sure that I'm coming across, and that, as I've told you all, I'm an introvert, energetic, and just being loyal to the person that I am. And lastly, pay attention to details. So everything you do ultimately contributes to your personal brand. So once your brand has been defined, make sure that the little things, the way you dress, your body language, how you behave with coworkers, the emails that you write are consistent with your brand message. And as I say that, I also think about social media. Social media is an extension of our brand. The color that we use, the style, the font, it all identifies you. And do you all have, is everyone on social media? You all are.
Yes.
Did you give it a lot of thought when you were building your social media platform? No.
When MySpace was big, you can create your background in your page.
Uh-huh.
So, and you can get creative with the music. You can add music to your MySpace. So it kind of told people what type of music you listen to. And I guess, creatively, what you're into from your backgrounds, or what type of mood you're in based on your background page.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you all are on Instagram. Do you have a color scheme? Do you have, anything that represents you? Are you serious? Are you funny? Is it shown, or expressed on your social media platform pages?
For me, I think as social media evolves, I use it less and less. Me personally, I use it less and less. I feel like I used to put everything on social media, and now I'm like, oh, I haven't posted anything in 6 months, and that's not unusual.
Wow.
But I will say, when I go to look at any new brand, any new product, any new restaurant, I am not going to Yelp pages anymore. I'm going to their Instagram and their Facebook, their TikTok pages before I'm going other places now.
Okay. So is there any particular style that makes you want to go to those places, or are you looking for anything in particular?
I think it depends. So like, for instance, for an example, I'm going to try a new winery this weekend with some friends. So
Mhm.
I looked at their Instagram to see what their seating looked like, because I wanted to see what their seating looked like, and what their seating options were, if they were covered, things like that. So I tend to look on their Instagram and social media more and more. And those brands that I can't get a lot of information from, I tend to move on to a different brand or company.
Wow, okay. Sounds good. Okay. Well, in addition to the 5 points, do you all have any that you would like to add when you think about brand or branding?
I definitely think social media is a big one. I know we did touch on it a little bit. I, for instance, had a friend of mine who owns a business, and her business has nothing to do with politics or anything like that. And she is very, very political on her business account. And to me, it kind of puts a little bit of a taste in my mouth regarding her brand, because she posts personal thoughts like that, that don't have necessarily anything to do with the brand.
Wow, okay. Okay. Ashley, you?
Well, I think part of my way I express my personal brand is what I volunteer my time for and what I share, information I share with that, like, you know, that's kind of it's outside of my work. It's what I do with my spare time. And uh, for a while, I was more active in that and really trying to figure out, was it homelessness? I mean, in Street Village, women's homelessness, and trying to see. It wasn't really intentional, my brand, but I also realized I wanted to be associated with certain organizations and not with others. And to the degree to which I was like proud of like posting stuff they were doing, like a fundraiser they were doing like that. I felt like also reflected on me for, but I guess to Alessandra's point too, like that can get you, some of my organizations are political.
Right.
And, if, depending on how broad your audience is, and you afford to express, political opinions, or, how much is business versus pleasure, et cetera. I don't know. But
Right. No, that makes sense. It really does. Okay. So that's it for me in my presentation. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So say you were interested in finding out maybe what your friends or coworkers were 5 adjectives that they would say, like you said, if you quit your job today, what would they miss about you? What would they miss in the workplace or as a team? How do you think you should go about that? Are there specific questions you would ask, or say, when you think of me, what are the 5 things you think of? I'd just be curious kind of how you suggest going about that to build your brand.
Right. I would just be very honest and upfront. And I ask my closest friends or my tribe that question as well. When you see me, what do you think of? What do you think my brand is? So just be open and honest and ask them the question. And believe me, they would love to tell you whether or not you want to hear it or not. They will share that information with you. So it's a great, conversation piece, and it helps you grow as a person too. I think that we're harder on ourselves than than we should be, and you'll be surprised someone else's lens, they'll see see the situation a little differently, or see you a little differently than what you think.
my
Yeah.
sister
Oh, go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing that it's also kind of asking like kind of the other things too. Like I'm not like this, am I? I know my sister recently just referred to her, just said, "Oh yeah, my resting bee face," you know. And I was like, I was shocked because I never thought of her that way because I always see her smiling. But then it made me think like she is self-aware. Maybe in her professional life, she's trying to combat that part of a brand. Maybe
Right.
she's finding that in her workplace, she's, she manages a bunch of, some people. Like, what if someone actually shared that with her and she recognizes that? And
Mhm.
that's a good thing if someone did. I mean, I haven't seen it, but maybe she got that. Maybe someone was willing to share that. I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah. You know, in meetings, people say that I have a poker face, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not even, I'm just paying attention, so it's surprising how people see you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I do PR at Trinity. Thank you so much for doing this talk. It's really great. I am very interested in your work with the Black and Missing Foundation. I think it's really important. I am glad to see the sort of the pushback on the Gabby Petito story. There are Black women and children and men missing. There are Indigenous people missing. I am fascinated. Well, fascinated is not the wrong word. I'm very angry about the fact that there's a lot of coverage about the fact that there's too much coverage of Gabby Petito and not enough coverage of the thousands of other women who were, killed by their partners and buried or whatever. And it's the same publications that then push out the next latest, story. And I feel like we're not making it. So at first I was like, wow, this pushback is awesome. And some of it was by the very media that was pushing out the story. And, every time I see Lester Holt bring up the damn Gabby Petito story, I want to like scream at the television. So I'm thinking, come on, people. So how are you? I'm so glad that you are working so hard to change that conversation. What are some of the things that you are doing to do that?
Well, since the Gabby Petito story broke, and let me just say that our heart breaks for her family.
Of course, no
Yes.
question.
And we have been inundated with hundreds of media requests.
Good.
We're doing is we're creating partnerships. We're having conversations with these media outlets because we have been down this road before. We don't want the stories to die. We don't want the conversation to end. So is it frustrating that, it's a soundbite that they're looking for with the missing white woman syndrome? We get it. But we're also trying to be strategic by creating partnerships with these media outlets and to hold their feet to the fire. So if they're saying to us or saying to the public, we need to do a better job with media coverage. Well, now that we have established a relationship and we reach out to you, we're expecting, meaning our organization is expecting you to help us or to some type of coverage for everyone else that is missing, because, time is of the essence. Awareness is key.
Thank you.
And
thank you for doing the work, because
thank you.
And I'm glad this is a flashpoint, but we had this with what's his face who killed his pregnant wife. Like that was another time where people had the kind of backlash and said, hey, there are hundreds and there are thousands of people and they just are the wrong color, and that's why you're not focusing on it. But so I have been hopeful that there would be some change, but then, as I said, I see the very same news outlets who are being, who are covering the criticism, then keep pushing out the latest, headline that it's all about, getting clicks on your site. I understand
all about
that,
ratings.
but,
Correct.
But it would be nice if some news media would sort of say, you know what, we're not covering this anymore.
Right.
Because right now it's just completely salacious crap.
It is. It is.
And yes, my heart goes out to her and her family, and now it looks like he's dead, and all, you know, so it's terrible. But like there are tons of those stories.
We had a meeting with the New York Times earlier this week, and they said, well, you know, we don't determine the stories, we just report on them. And someone said, well, you can, instead of waiting for the story to grow legs, why don't you help it grow legs?
Right.
And then they thought about it, well, you know, maybe, you know, we'll think about it, we'll see. So we're just trying to bring about change and even the playing field.
Ashley nailed it. Cowardly BS.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say it, Ashley. Yeah, that is BS, because you know, and I know, and anybody in media knows, and anybody watching television knows, decisions are made every single day and every single moment about what piece of news is going to be covered, how much coverage they're going to devote to it, how many paragraphs in a newspaper, how many minutes in a news story. They have news conferences, you know, in the morning and the afternoon. So they're making those decisions constantly. And if they wanted to do the right thing, or frankly, the journalistic thing, I mean, it would be journalistically compelling to identify just in one day the number of, you know, women period who go missing every single day. There's a story that's going on around, it was in the Washington Informer, and it's been picked up because they're a member of the Black Newspaper Association, so it's being picked up by a lot of Black newspapers about, I completely agree about Oprah, but she gave up that her show, which was too bad, because I think she lost her platform. But anyway, the story was every week, 4 women are murdered, 4 Black women are murdered. And it was an FBI report. It was quite powerful. One of them was somebody who had been a Trinity student. She only was here for a semester and so on. So that's why I'm getting a lot of hits on it. But it's a very powerful figure.
Wow. Yeah, it
So,
is.
But I've only seen it covered in the Black-owned newspapers across the country, and I haven't seen it picked up elsewhere. And it's an FBI report. It's not like it's some, you know, small little shop that came up with this report. It's a FBI report.
Hi, Natalie. I do have a question back about branding. So I know that first and foremost, you know, you said, you know your kind of what you're known for, your, you know, your strengths and your skills and what's unique to you. And be true to yourself. However, I think it's important to recognize that sometimes, you know, being completely true to ourselves we may not always be the best self-promoter, self-salesperson. So if your own, do you have any suggestions? If maybe there are some parts of your personal brand that maybe you actually want to work on because they're not necessarily taking you where you want professionally or personally. Like, you know, how do you, like, you see your goals, but if you know, how do you take that recognition that, oh, for example, I'm, you know, I want to be the best Volkswagen salesperson. Or, you know, I want to, whatever the case may be, best advocate for the homeless. But I've learned that some parts of my current brand are really not, you know, are either off-putting or not helping me towards my goals. Do you have any suggestions about how people can, like, well, first, I guess you do have to recognize it, but then, like, you know, how to, like, research about how to grow into different roles, or Any thoughts about how to make your brand maybe a bit more morphed to what you're looking for?
Right. So something that I do is I also take a look at other brands with a similar mission, and I look at, what I like, and I critique their, their brand or their website. And I wouldn't say I lift some of that information, but I create a vision board, and sometimes you have to pivot in another direction. So just take a look at other organizations that are doing similar work as you, and see what you like, and create a vision board and pivot in the direction that you would like to go in. And you may also need to get professional assistance. There are people who do this, every day and day in and day out, and they know what colors triggers, different reactions and emotions. So that's something to also consider.
I have a question too for you, Natalie. So if you were to if I were to build a new company, a new brand, and I'm looking to kind of figure out what my organization is or what my company is as a brand, is there a piece that you feel like is more important to start with? Is a logo important to start with? Is it tagline important to start with? Obviously, the mission needs to be there, whether that's revenue or a different kind of mission. But is there one piece that you say, this is where you start with a brand and then you grow from there?
Well, for me and with the Black and Missing Foundation, it was starting with our mission before we even created the logo. And actually, our mission helped us to create the logo that we wanted, and the colors and the font and everything else. So start with your mission and let it drive your brand, and stay true to your mission, whatever it may be, because we started the organization close to 14 years ago, and so many other issues have grown since then, but we have stuck to our brand. This is who we are. This is what we do. We have received criticism because of it, but we know what our work is and what our mission is, and we have stuck to it, and it has helped with everything else.
I have a question similar to Ashley's question. I think I just want to build upon that. What about folks who wear multiple hats and they have sort of a branding problem? I mean, I think the pillars of branding is being consistent with your messaging. And so if you wear a number of different hats, how can you be consistent with the message that you convey?
Well, again, it's being true to your mission. You may wear many hats like I do, for the Black and Missing Foundation. Not only am I doing PR and the publicist, but doing fundraising and everything else that you can think of to help the organization grow and be visible. So it's staying true to your mission and just, creating a path, creating a plan as to, what you want to achieve, and a roadmap to help you get there.
Thank you.
I have a question. These questions are really good. I'm over here taking some really good notes, and your answers are so great. So my question is, okay, so once you ask your friends and family and whoever about those adjectives that describe you, how do you translate that into, well, first, how do you translate that online? And then how do you translate that in person? Because when I think about building a brand, and of course, because we're in the internet age, but my mind automatically goes to online. But I also realized that, before, this whole internet age, places like McDonald's and, other companies, they were building a brand that wasn't even online. So I'm really trying to figure out, how do I go from what I am to what I translate online, and then also what I can translate offline?
Well, to me, it should be consistent. What you're translating or you're presenting online should be the same as you're presenting in person, and you're in PR as well. Please chime in. So anyone that meets you or you're representing your company, what they see online should be the same elements, that they see in person. If you think of any brand, Starbucks, I mean, if you go to their website and you go to the store in person, the brick and mortar, is some of the similar, elements there. And do you want to weigh in from a communications perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to be both true to your brand, but also flexible. I mean, I think whether it's an organization or a person, you can also have different facets to it. So not only do I do PR to media, but I also interact. Right now, I'm doing outreach to the DC Council about an initiative that we have. So I put a different spin on it then. And because I'm trying to build a partnership as opposed to try to pitch a particular story. So I think being flexible, but also always being true to yourself. So you can't just like make up a whole nother persona or a whole nother organizational brand. But you always need to be true, but you can, we had a story about clearing student balances, and I pitched it to higher ed. I pitched it to TV. I pitched it to the Washington Business Journal. I had different angles on all of that, but it was always still the core story.
Right. So you were always consistent.
Absolutely.
Messaging. Okay. So, okay. Ashley, you're saying something.
Interesting question.
I couldn't read it. Ashley, I don't have my glasses on. What?
Sorry, I'm trying not to speak too much because I am that extrovert blabbermouth. So I was just wondering, like from say a small business standpoint, and if you are like wanting to, I was suggesting a storefront, but and I've seen some. I love walking around some parts of the city and seeing like pop-up storefronts. I apologize, my dog is going crazy.
It's fine.
Big loud pity. You would would you want to like have that? Just make sure that the look, the feel, like if you want to be edgy, like that should be edgy in your social media and your website, and like when you're out representing your brand, you want to look that kind of like look edgy. Like, is that kind of a consistent? Is that one of the things you're saying about being consistent? That there's something, or if you want like Trinity, if you like your colors purple, like we should all, like everyone should be like whatever there's anything representing Trinity should have purple. Is that kind of some of the consistency you're talking about if you were talking about a small business and a personal brand that you're trying to develop?
Right.
That's
so
kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, you should be consistent. So let's say McDonald's, when you see that double arch or that arch, that's McDonald's, whether you see it online or a brick and mortar building. It's consistent with the color scheme, with the font, with even the all of the information. It's similar with online, or it's consistent. I shouldn't say similar. It's consistent with what's online and the brick and mortar. So just having that balance there, so that anyone can see any facet or element of your business or organization, and they immediately know who you are. For instance, the breast cancer, we all know that that sign, and that color, you automatically know
Mm.
it pertains to breast cancer awareness.
So I was going to say something about that because my mom passed away from breast cancer, and I've always been like dedicated on, you know, because I have it's four of us, it's girls, my sisters, and they told us we have to start getting tested regularly for breast exams. So I'm always promoting breast cancer awareness and things like that. Pink, gold, you know, things. I went to the Susan Komen, I participated in the Susan Komen walk and many other walks pertaining to breast cancer. So I'm a strong advocate for that. And I'm trying to build a website that posts resources for patients or people who do not have health insurance or low income, where they can go to get their exams, you know, transportation for them. I'm trying to build a website for that, but I'm just lost and I'm a little nervous because I don't even know where to begin. But I wanted to solely focus on breast cancer. So, and just resources. As my friend said, you're very resourceful. So I would like to help and assist people with finding those resources if they don't know where to go, where to look, who to talk to.
Right. Send me your email or send it to Alessandra, and I will get you a branding guide that I have used in the past, and it will definitely help you to think about, you know, the message, your mission that you want to convey, you know, to your audience.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And just really quick on that topic, Michelle, I know you said you were interested as well. We have another Trinity alum as well. Her name is Jasmine Jones. She's class of 13. She owns Cherry Blossom Intimates, if you want to look into that at all. It's up in Gaithersburg. And it is a company that I believe it's fully insurable. And they make bras for people who've had mastectomies. So it's completely customizable. They go in your exact size, you know, they can be different sizes, they can be different padding, everything like that, but it's specifically made for you. And it's really, really cool. And it's up, like I said, up in Gaithersburg, and it's specifically made for people who have gone through breast cancer, so they can feel confident in their clothes and things like that. So it might just be something you would want to look into.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I was so nervous, but thank you for being engaging and, you know, for welcoming me. So thank you.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem. Thank you.
Nervous.
Thank
You
you.
were
I enjoyed
awesome.
this.
Thank
I really
you.
enjoyed it. Thank
You
you
didn't
so
seem
much.
nervous at all. It was
Thank
great.
you, Natalie. Sorry.
Thank you.
And like I
Thank you very
mentioned,
much.
we will have this recording online in a couple of days. So just look out on our website. Feel free to send it to anyone within our Trinity community if they'd like to see it. I just want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and for Natalie for your time. I know you were nervous, but you did fantastic. So thank you very much for all of your insight, and thank you for all of the work that you do as well.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.